Buenas tardes, señor Panetta, bienvenido. Quiero hacerme eco de una cierta percepción, y no solo percepción, sino también de algunos discursos que hemos venido escuchando y leyendo en la prensa en las últimas semanas sobre la reducida ambición de este proyecto, ¿no? Del proyecto para emitir un euro digital. Una ambición tan reducida, podríamos decir, que hay quien cuestiona la propia necesidad de un euro digital, si a duras penas es difícilmente distinguible de cualquier otro método de pagos que en la actualidad ofrece el sector privado. Mi pregunta sería, por tanto, hacerme eco de esta incertidumbre, podríamos decir, y pedirle que nos aclarara en qué medida el proyecto es ambicioso o no, y en el caso en el que el proyecto a corto plazo pareciera un simple sistema de pagos, ¿cuáles son las cualidades que aconsejan seguir trabajando en él? Muchas gracias.
Absolutely. This is a crucial question. And I would argue that precisely because of the reasons you mentioned, this is a very ambitious project. It is true that European citizens, many, not all, can pay digitally. It is also true that they may pay digitally in many stores, many shops, but not everywhere. It is true that they have access to digital means of payment, but not necessarily at a cheap cost. We are proposing that we would give a secure, efficient, inclusive access to digital payments to all citizens. And this way we would protect their freedom to pay. We are proposing a digital means of payment that will be provided by the sovereign. It is true that for most people, there are other ways of making digital payments. But it is not true that all will be able to pay everywhere and at cheap cost, and especially with the maximum protection of their privacy for digital payments. So what we are suggesting is to take note of the fact that today people can pay safely, in a secure way, using sovereign money, which is cash. But we know that there is a trend towards less use of cash, and we also know that most of our purchases are now done digitally. This means that in the future, cash, which is an inclusive, safe, cheap, easy to use means of payment, cash might not be available. We want to protect cash. And the ECB, with the Commission, has a cash strategy that we are implementing. But the world is progressing. And in the future, we want to guarantee this easy, cheap, secure, efficient access to digital means of payments offered by the sovereign, which would, for example, maximize financial inclusion, which would offer the possibility to pay offline, which would give the maximum level of privacy for digital payments. This is the objective of the project. We think it's ambitious, and we believe this is a very important project. But we're not proposing to issue. We are offering to the legislators the possibility to provide a means of payment that could improve welfare of European citizens. Then it would be a choice done by you whether this is necessary or not. I personally believe it is highly necessary. I think that we would, for example, today 2/3 of the payments done digitally by European citizens. I want to emphasize this because not everybody might be aware of this. 2/3 of digital means of payments are intermediated by foreign companies, large US companies. For card payments to card schemes, international card schemes, for digital non-card payments by a PayPal, I don't know how to call it, okay? It's not dangerous to mention anybody here. So maybe it is safer because we have a better control on the way information is treated. Maybe that we have better control of the resiliency of the payment system that, let's face it, is an essential element of not just the financial system, of any advanced economy. So we want to be sure that in any situation, in any circumstance, we will have a framework that would allow all European citizens to pay everywhere in a safe and efficient manner at cheap cost. So we think it's a necessary project to have ready, and that we should continue to put as much effort as possible in this project.
Thank you so much. Would you like to ask a follow-up?
Sí, muchas gracias. Usted ha dicho que este es un proyecto in progress, ¿no? un proyecto en progreso que, entiendo, no termina con la propuesta legislativa, ni siquiera termina con el inicio del funcionamiento del euro digital como medio de pago, sino que detrás de ese medio de pago puede haber desarrollos futuros, ¿no? Es un proyecto in progress, como ha dicho. Mi pregunta tiene que ver con la propia propuesta legislativa y el framework regulatorio que los colegisladores deben dar al euro digital. Quizá en el corto plazo sea solo un medio de pago, pero quizá en el futuro pueda hacer otras cosas. Y para que pueda hacer otras funciones, deberíamos tener un marco legislativo que lo permitiera. Por lo tanto, tenemos que pensar en ese marco legislativo no solamente a corto, sino también a medio plazo. Y me gustaría conocer sus aportaciones o qué nos puede decir sobre cómo esa propuesta legislativa, que a corto plazo probablemente nos sirva para viabilizar un nuevo medio de pago, pueda tener las características para poder hacerlo evolucionar en el futuro. Gracias.
Let me briefly give you visibility on how we are designing the follow-up, and then I will get into the specific answer to your question. First, we will complete the investigation phase by the end of this year, and we will make a proposal to the Governing Council on the broad features of the digital euro. Of course, there will not be the final configuration of the digital euro, because we should take into account any provision that would be introduced by legislation. We have a broad scheme that, of course, should adapt to legislation. Then, after this investigation phase, if the Governing Council will approve, we will start an experimentation phase. That will go from the prototypes to building something which looks in a laboratory CBDC, which would, in the next 3 years, we would start experimenting also in small towns to try to assess the reaction of people, what works and what does not work. So this is the development. And of course, we would start with a simple design for basic use. We would expand this. This is a very complex project. What would be very convenient to have as the main feature of legislation to avoid unnecessary constraints on the design. Let me give you an example. The technology. We are dealing and interacting with technology experts to understand whether a centralized or a decentralized DLT technology is better. But this may change. We may decide that for the next 5 years, a centralized technology is preferable, is more efficient, but who knows what innovation will bring us in 10 years from now. If we see in the legislation that it is built on DLT or it is built on centralized technology, that would prevent further improvement in the future. Or on the possibility to give access to a digital euro to foreigners, or to have interoperability, or the possibility to do cross-border payments. Here we should be as flexible as possible because, again, the nature and the importance and the reason why a digital currency issued by the central bank could be essential, strategic for a large jurisdiction like the euro area might become broader going forward. When other jurisdictions will issue their own digital currency, of course, there will be a lot of work by us and by others, presumably, to make them fully interoperable. So flexibility, fix the main features that respond to the needs of people, that are consistent with our broader legislative framework, that guarantee rights, privacy. I don't want to tell you what you have to do. You asked me, so that's why